If you're in an emotionally abusive relationship, it's no different than getting smacked all over the place. Adultery, addiction, abandonment, abuse. If any of those things are present, yes, you can forgive your partner, but it doesn't necessarily mean the relationship will survive. And emotional abuse, the problem with it is you can't necessarily see the pain. If somebody's getting slapped around, you can see the bruises, you can see the marks. You can't see that with emotional abuse. Yeah, I forgive you, but we're divorcing. Yes, I forgive you, but we're separated. I'm no longer staying in this unsafe environment.
If you're somebody that might be going through emotional abuse, listen to this. Some people will often blame you for their bad behavior, all to avoid responsibility of their actions. They'll have unpredictable mood swings and make you feel like you're walking on eggshells. They'll constantly put you down and belittle you to make you feel worthless, to make you feel like the only person you can run to for a high, for comfort, or validation is them. They'll even use manipulation tactics to get their way, such as gaslighting and guilt tripping. And if you notice your partner, your family member, your friend withhold attention, affection, or even validation, that can also be a form of emotional abuse, all to make you feel less than, all to make you feel unloved and unworthy. Some people have gotten way too comfortable with disrespecting and mistreating people and just expecting them to get over it without them even taking accountability. This is not love and this is not friendship. It's so sad because a lot of y'all ruin the nicest, most genuine people, all because your pride is worth more than an apology and changed behavior. So if you're experiencing someone that's like this with you, cut them off and let them starve. I'm gonna let that sink in.
Hey She Risers, welcome back to the channel. Before we get into it, if you're enjoying what you see, please like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel and keeps this community growing. Today, I want to talk about something that doesn't always get the attention it deserves, and that's emotional abuse. Just because it isn't visible doesn't mean it's not real. Emotional abuse is the kind of pain that leaves no bruises but scars your heart and soul. Whether it's manipulation, gaslighting, or constantly belittling, the damage is real. And it can take a serious toll on your self-worth, your mental health, and even your physical well-being. It's that quiet voice that tells you you're not enough, and that's something no one should have to endure. Sometimes people stay in those situations because there's no physical harm being done, so they start to think that it's not really abuse. But let me tell you, abuse doesn't need to leave marks on your body to be damaging. Emotional abuse is just as serious and harmful as any other form of abuse. All right, so now let's get into these videos.
Here's a list of subtle but real warning signs of emotional abuse. If someone barrages you with information or really intense information and then demands an immediate response, that is a subtle but very real form of emotional abuse. If someone withholds affection as punishment, that is a form of emotional abuse. If someone doesn't tell you what you did wrong, but they expect you to grovel for forgiveness, that is emotional immaturity and abuse. Intentional forgetfulness about things that are deeply important to you, that is manipulation and a form of an emotional abuse. If someone is patronizing about your opinion, oh, that's sweet, something like that. This one's a pretty common one. Love bombing you to erase bad behavior. And finally, like this horrible, vague ambiguity about the status of your relationship. Like you never know where you stand with that person.
Can we understand the magnitude of damage that emotional abuse causes? And yes, cheating happens, and there are women who can stay for it. There's women who can forgive it, but certain people cannot take it because it emotionally messes them up. it completely changes their self-image. And park cheating as a form of emotional abuse because it's the deepest form of betrayal in an intimate affair. An affair where you're supposed to be building with your partner. An affair where you're supposed to be transparent and trusting with your partner. So when the foundation of trust is taken from a relationship, that is the first thing that disturbs the peace in our home.
There was a guy that I dated before. He was extremely verbally, mentally, and emotionally abusive. And I do mean extremely. Never physical, but I do believe if I stayed with him long enough, he would have probably become physical because he couldn't regulate himself. His anxiety and anger was so bad. But I remember for the longest, he used to withdraw his affection from me. And he used to tell me, it was one time where he told me specifically, I couldn't say I missed him. I couldn't say I loved him because if I said any of those things to him, he was not going to speak to me. And he was serious about that. And I was at a low point when he said that. It was like, you know, I'm trying to build something with you. Why would you say that? And I realized that all the work that I had done, I was falling back into that same space of trying to prove myself to him. And for the longest, I was triggered for a while. Whenever I felt like, or if I was dating someone and I wanted to say, I miss you, his voice was always in the back of my head. And all the work I had done, it seemed like it was just thrown out the window. Had to do therapy all over again because it's like, this should not be affecting me the way that it is. And I had to get that out of my mind that it's okay.
Get out now if you're experiencing these early signs of emotional abuse. They make you question your reality. You're constantly overthinking everything that's happening. 2, some days they're up and some days they're down. Their emotional inconsistency is consistent. You never know where you're gonna stand. And 3, you often apologize for their behavior. They don't own it and they put the blame back on you.
Here are 5 signs of emotional blackmail. They always try to make you feel wrong, even when they did you wrong. They try to make you question yourself until you're unsure of yourself. Emotional extortion. They shine a light on your darkest insecurities. They get they high off of making you feel low. They always try to make you feel guilty for doing what's best for you. Straight up.
Not sure if you're the victim or the abuser? I'll tell you what I learned, and hopefully it will bring you some clarity. And if you're new to my page, my name is Jackie, and I'm giving real examples of emotional abuse so that you can spot them in your relationships. So when I first got out of my abusive relationship and I started to do my own research on it, I came across something that said the biggest tell that you have been in an abusive relationship is the feeling that you are constantly confused. I felt confused all the time. I was confused because his behavior was unpredictable. When I would be driving home from work, I had anxiety. I didn't know if I was going to get Jekyll or if I was going to get Hyde. I was confused because his words never matched his actions. He would tell me he would do one thing, but then do the exact opposite. He would tell me he would want me to initiate sex, but then he would turn me down when I did. He would tell me he was going to get his finances in order, but then never got around to doing it. He told me he wanted to marry me, but never took the steps to make that happen. I read somewhere that words not matching actions is manipulation, and I 100% agree. I was confused because he always had some reason why things didn't add up. If I questioned where the money went or why something was taking so long, he always had a reason. I questioned him many times about his history with his ex-wife because it just didn't make sense. If he was innocent against the DV charges, why was there a restraining order? Why, when the restraining order was dropped, would she only communicate through a communication app? I've learned that if things don't make sense, if they don't add up, it's because they're trying to hide something. I was confused when he would get mad when I would question him. When I would ask him these why questions because things didn't add up, he would get mad at me and he would flip it around and say, "Oh, what, you don't trust me?" I could never understand why someone would get so mad when you're just asking clarifying questions. He got mad because he didn't want to talk about it, likely because he couldn't remember all the lies that he fed me and he wanted to make sure he didn't get caught. So he fed me nonsense until I eventually dropped the issue because I was so confused. I was confused because he deprived me of sleep at least 3 times a week, whether it's watching TV in the bedroom or getting incredibly emotional picking a fight. When it first started, I would stay up with him and I would talk him through his feelings. Over time, I started to get annoyed because everything he brought to me was something he was making up in his head, a perceived slight or an assumption, something that triggered his abandonment wounds. But he would bring it to me and he was so emotionally dysregulated, he was abusive. accusations and yelling and name calling. He wasn't doing his own work. He wasn't healing his trauma. He wasn't trying to fix himself. And he'd keep me up all hours of the night, keeping me lost in a total state of confusion. That's when I started to set boundaries on managing his feelings for him. I couldn't do it anymore. It was exhausting. And the moment I started to set boundaries was the moment he started calling me the abuser. Boundaries are healthy. Setting boundaries does not make you an abuser. And that is when I started educating myself. If this sounds like you, continue to educate yourself on abuse. Self-reflect, listen to your inner voice. If you feel confused, if things don't make any sense, and most importantly, if you're being told that you're the abuser, that's a great chance that you're the actual victim of abuse.
This is a message for anyone who's a mom, who is a wife. Emotional abuse is serious. It's not something to gloss over, it's real. Emotional abuse will really break you down completely to a point where you can't be broken down anymore. You could be with somebody for the longest time and have no idea because you're not being hit. Or maybe you've been hit and it hasn't been often. It's not like you're walking around with bruises, but this person hurts you in such a way where you begin to really wonder and think to yourself, like, there's no way this person wants to see me happy. There's no way they don't want to hurt me. There's no way that they're not doing this on purpose, intentionally. And then it's hard because nobody else will understand. It feels like nobody else will get it because they don't see the side that you see. They don't see the person you see. They don't see the person that comes home to you every day. They don't see the attitude. They don't see the shame. They don't see the victim blaming. They don't see the pointing of the finger, that always all the blame always going to you. They don't see these things. They see this happy, nice person who just wants to help people, who just wants to be this life of the party, but you never get that. You get everything but that. You get the things that you don't deserve, but they've convinced you deserve the treatment because you're the reason that they're giving you the treatment in the first place. My mom passed away 5 months ago, and I have not felt any lonelier. I have not felt any lower. I have not felt as horrible as I do right now. And I am not one to even cry for people, but this shit is fucking real. Man or a woman is serious. It really is. It's so messed up. The person will cheat on you. The person will make you feel horrible, and then the person will turn around and say, you did it. You're the reason. It's because of you. At the most loneliest time in my life, I still can't understand what I did wrong to deserve this type of treatment. It just doesn't make any sense. It's never gonna make any fucking sense to me. I'm like becoming so much more self-aware of everything happening right now. And I feel like it's so important and so urgent that other women out there, especially if you feel like you can't get out of it, you have to realize what you're in. You can't get out of something you don't realize that you're in the first place. You should never have to compromise your self-worth or compete with somebody else just to be loved, because that's really all you need at the end of the day. And right now, I'm learning to just give that shit to my fucking self.
Healthy relationships provide emotional safety. That's the space between two people where you can share your authentic self, your thoughts, fears, insecurities, even when they're irrational. It's feeling seen and heard, completely accepted for who you are. It's a very important piece of developing emotional intimacy, and it's critical for the emotional wellness of your relationship. Yeah, that space didn't exist in my last relationship. The constant cycle of love bombing and devaluation over time left me feeling completely numb emotionally. I clearly remember a time where I thought to myself, I have nothing to say to this person. There was no point in bringing up the boundary crossing because he would just deflect. Don't bother mentioning how disrespectful it feels to be whistled at like a dog when you don't answer right away, because then I'd be told I'm too sensitive. And if I didn't drop what I was doing and come running when he called, I would be met with rage of, you never fucking listen. I couldn't even instill my values on my daughter without critical commentary from the peanut gallery. Anytime that I spoke about women's rights or equality or lifestyle choices, he would find some way to offer his 2 cents that would completely contradict what I was trying to teach her. And anything that I did share was used against me at a later date. For example, I had mentioned one time that I like to clean and organize when I'm feeling anxious. All of a sudden, anytime I mop the floor, I'd be accused of something being wrong. hiding things or not being truthful, when in reality, the floor was just gross and it needed to be cleaned. I did not feel safe to share anything. Everything I said was met with an argument. There was no such thing as sharing your feelings. They would either be invalidated or he would perceive them as a personal attack against his masculinity or his ability to be a good partner. And it wasn't even that I was afraid to speak up. I was well beyond that point. It was that it didn't matter what I said or how I said it. It would have been matched with something combative. It could have been the most mundane thing, and he would have found some way to criticize what I said. So I got to a place where I just didn't speak. Important issues fell on deaf ears, and unimportant issues were just ridiculed. And he eventually started to notice and zoned in on this. He said I never communicated anymore and that I wasn't fun anymore. He said I was boring and that he missed the person that I used to be. He told me there was something wrong with me and I must be depressed. He encouraged me to go see a therapist and to look inward. So I did. I started to look inward and I started to take care of myself. And do you want to know what happened? Every act of self-care was criticized, invalidated, and ridiculed. And anytime I centered my own needs, where I provided for myself emotionally because he was incapable of doing that, I was met with accusations of not loving him. I realized it was his lack of empathy and his inability to hold space that turned me into a shell of a person, and ultimately put our relationship in that position.
You're gonna have to do what's best for you, even when it feels like shit. You have to understand that what you tolerate and allow in your life is what you will get. When someone shows you who they are, when someone shows you that they don't care, when someone manipulates you, when someone is back and forth with you, hot and cold with you, whatever the circumstances may be, walk away. Do what you have to do. And it's not going to feel good. It's going to hurt because there's a bond there. There's some sort of bond there. I understand. But you have to. You have to. You can't continue to let people walk and stomp all over your heart and make you feel badly about yourself because they are unhealed. You can't do it. It's not fair to you. It's not even fair to them. Take a stand for yourself. Even when it hurts to let go, take a stand for yourself and walk away.
And if you're in this kind of situation, She Risers, or someone you know that you don't deserve it. And it's not your fault. Your feelings are valid, and it's okay to seek help and walk away. You're worthy of love and respect. And if you're someone who's healed from emotional abuse, I see you, and I'm proud of you for choosing your peace and happiness. Thanks for tuning in, She Risers. I hope this video helped shed some light on the invisible pain of emotional abuse and offered some comfort if you're dealing with it. Remember, you're never alone, and there's always hope and support out there. If you found value in this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means everything to me and helps me grow my channel in this community. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. I love to hear from you. Let's continue to rise together and support each other. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.